Joining us now, Professor of Political Science and Director of the Institute for International Studies, Stanford University, former ambassador to Russia, Michael McFall. In Washington, ranking member of the House Select Committee on Intelligence, Democratic Congressman Schiff of California. Good to have you both. Let's first play President Trump. Because I want you to watch the host who is interviewing him here, because I watch his face in this interview and I feel like he's saying with his face, I'm trying to help you. And then when he gets the wrong answer, he's like, I'm trying to help you. Here's Bill O'Reilly and Donald Trump.
Do you respect Putin?
I do respect him.
Do you? Why?
Well, I respect a lot of people, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get along with him. He's a leader of his country. I say it's better to get along with Russia than not. And if Russia helps us in the fight against ISIS, which is a major fight, and Islamic terrorism all over the world,
right.
Major fight, that's a good thing. Will I get along with him? I have no idea. It's very possible I won't.
Putin's a killer.
A lot of killers. We got a lot of killers. Why, you think our country's so innocent? You think our country's so innocent?
I don't know of any government leaders that are killers anymore.
Well, take a look at what we've done, too. We've made a lot of mistakes. I've been against the war in Iraq from the beginning.
Yeah, mistakes are different than...
A lot of mistakes, okay, but a lot of people were killed. So, a lot of killers around, believe me.
Can't help him. You can't help him. Ambassador McFall, I think you can't help him because there's something, to quote President Donald Trump, there's something going on. What are the options?
Well, of course, it's deeply disturbing what he said. Just empirically, there's no moral equivalency between the way we fight, the way our soldiers fight, and the way Russia fights. Aleppo, for instance, has been considered a crime against humanity. We don't do that. We also don't poison opposition leaders, as you pointed out before the break. We don't assassinate them, as we did with, as happened in Russia with Boris Nemtsov 2 years ago. But you know,
don't assassinate journalists in elevators, mothers of three.
You know, and I've just got to assume that maybe President Trump doesn't know all that history. But I just want to remind your viewers, he said exactly the same thing on your show.
Right.
December 2015. And when he said it then, I thought, well, maybe he made a mistake. Maybe, you know, they didn't think about the consequences of that gross moral equivalency. But, you know, when offered a chance to correct the record, he just doubled down. So he must truly believe it.
So then, Adam Schiff, I'll go to you and let you both respond to this, though. He's been saying this since December of 2015. He hasn't minced his words. He hasn't adjusted. He hasn't edited. And so he clearly means, I think we can now go with this. I think, unlike Vice President Pence, who tried to translate this, and I'm going to show that to you, but it's with all due respect, and I think Vice President Pence does a great job trying to manage his situation. It's laughable trying to explain this as anything else but what it is. So what are the options as to why, Congressman Schiff?
Well, look, I'm sure the ambassador's right that he doesn't know the history, doesn't know precisely what Putin does. But honestly, I think even if he did know, it wouldn't matter. I think in his worldview, you're either with him or you're against him, and Vladimir Putin has been with him. He's been with him in the election with the Russian interference. He's been with him in saying nice things about him. And now Donald Trump has staked his reputation on having a better relationship with Russia. So it's almost as if there's nothing Putin can do now that will get Donald Trump to admit error, which is gravely concerning to me, given we have now this escalation of violence by the Russians in Ukraine. Can we ever expect Donald Trump to call out Putin on this and admit that his new Russia policy is a failure? I think the Russians can get pretty much anything right now, and that concerns me tremendously, more than you know, what the indefensible statement he just made.
Nikki Haley called out Putin, which was good to see. But from the president on down, you're not getting a change. And you know that since December of 2015, Ambassador McFall, that Donald Trump has seen the reaction he has gotten to this around the world, most of it negative. He is doing fine pleasing his base. He doesn't need this. There's got to be a why. What are the options?
Well, again, I just want to underscore something very important you just said. He is let's just, for the sake of argument, assume that maybe it could be true, right? But as a commander-in-chief, you don't say it anyway. You mentioned my Twitter feed before the break. Well, on my Twitter feed last night, lots of veterans weighed in and said they don't appreciate being compared as killers. Even that word killer is a word that shouldn't be used. As to the why, I think he has a strategy that he thinks that if I say nice things about Putin, he's going to help me in the war against ISIS, for instance, right? And I've dealt with Vladimir Putin. That's not going to get to the objectives that you seek. Flattery is not a tool that works with Vladimir Putin. And, you know, I'm predicting that eventually that President Trump himself will learn that lesson.
Elise?
And Ambassador McFall, just to follow up on that, do you think that this is not dealing with Vladimir Putin from a position of strength? This constant flattery?
Yes, that's a very good point, which is to say, I too think that the United States of America, the White House, President Trump, should work with Vladimir Putin and Russia when it's in the American national interest, when it serves a security or economic interest. So far, the objective, so far as I can discern, of Trump's policy towards Russia is to get along, is to be nice to them. That's not a policy. Why do I care if we get along with Russia? It's only if it serves our national interest. And I think he's getting mixed up the objectives of a policy versus the means. The objective should be about America's security or economic interest. The means should be through engagement.
Congressman, I know you don't like the president's immigration policy as a matter of policy, but as a matter of law, what makes you think that the courts should and will ultimately strike down what is in his executive order?
Well, the president does have a lot of discretion in the field of immigration, obviously in the field of national security. But I think what the court is going to look at here is this an impermissible ban on a religious group? And I think statements like those that Giuliani made, the fact that the president has also talked about it as a Muslim ban and has also talked about favoring Christians, I think that the court is going to look at these things to find out what was the true intent here. Is this, as Giuliani has said, essentially a Muslim ban masquerading as a ban on immigration from certain countries? So I think they're going to be heavily predisposed based on those facts to view this as an impermissible religious test. And that's, I think, one of the biggest problems that we're going to face with this ban. But I was just going to mention, to your point earlier, Mika, about questioning the legitimacy of this judge. In part, this is, again, I think a failure of the president to understand our constitutional separation of powers. But it's also a part of that broader phenomenon with this president where if you say something critical or do something critical, if you're a judge, you're illegitimate. In Judge Kiril's case, it was where he came from. If it's polls that don't reflect well, they're fake. If it's a news story, it's lies. This president simply cannot accept anything that doesn't go his way and has kind of a scorched earth about it, which is, I think, dangerous for a commander-in-chief.
Congressman Adam Schiff, thank you.